So if you're burning down something or taking a flag down or fighting with police, I'm sorry, you're trashing your personal brand.
That is Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank trying to, I guess, dissuade campus protesters from doing what they're doing because someday they might lose a job as a result of it. He is an expert on business, I suppose. Here is his full argument.
And let me explain how this works. When I'm hiring somebody, and I'm not different than any other corporation, you just heard from the S&P 500 CEOs, we do what's called a deep, dark search. So if you're a candidate in the executive element of a company or any candidate of materiality, you do this. You look at their resume and you say, let's hire a firm. It's about $4,800 per search, and go deep web, go dark web. All of this imagery that you're seeing tonight, all of this unedited film is going to be there in about 2 weeks. So if you're out there right now, even in the dark with no sunglasses on, even though you've got a mask on, I'll see your eyes at 4K resolution. I know who you are. And unfortunately, what's going to occur to these young people who have not thought this through, I'll see your resume. You may be a great candidate. Then I'll find that you were doing this or fighting the police or whatever it was. I'll put that resume on the left into the garbage because I know I can find someone else just as good as you, of which there are tens of thousands of candidates, that didn't participate in this. You are trashing your future.
The only way that that diatribe could have ended the way it should have is if it ended with, wait, am I the bad guy in this? Because that sounds terrible. If you're the cyber 4K creep analyzing eye fingerprints so that 30 years from now you can reject someone a job because they participated in a protest you disagree with, I don't think you're not the hero of this story. And to be clear, you watch the full thing, he says a couple times that he feels bad for the students that this is the case. So he couches it with some nuance or whatever. But in his hypothetical, he's not saying other people will trash the resume. He's saying he will trash the resume. And none of this is the way it should be. If you think that this is the way it will work in terms of the tech, good. Point that out so that we can legally stop that from ever happening. But dear God, is that a dystopia that he has sketched out, Brett? What do you think?
And doesn't it sound like he's the kind of guy you want to work for? Can't wait to work for a guy who's like, I do a deep, dark search. And your desk is down at the left past the gates of Mordor and into the mountain. Jesus, that guy's terrifying.
Hi, I'm Shelob, the Great Spider. I'll be your supervisor.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you. I'm just gonna do a weapons check right now. Anything glowing? And that's all I remember from that movie. And then I think they made a book about it. Anyway, so novelization. For this, listen, today on the first hour of the Young Turks, John will be joined by David Schuster and Cenk Uygur. And David Schuster went to the Columbia protest. And you know what he found? A lot of very reasonable student protesters.
No, don't cut that.
Pretty exclusively.
No, Brett, shut up.
Reasonable human beings being like, I don't want babies to die. I think it's weird that we still don't have a return of hostages and a ceasefire and people who can just go about living normally and not be afraid to get blown up for basically reasons they had absolutely nothing to do with.
Yep.
100%. Thousands of people across the country doing exactly that. And I don't think that's crazy. That is not a crazy thing. And so if you are, first of all, by the time, what is his name? One of the Nazgul of the Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary ends up doing that level of a search on you. You've already talked to someone at the organization. And if they find it, you can then say, that is what I was doing. You can have a conversation because there you're at the getting to know someone portion of the interview process. So that's BS. Now, I just want everybody to know that any protest has weirdos. It happens. They have people that just walk by. There's plenty of people who are psychotic and show up there to do horrible things. There's not that many of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they do that, then there should be consequences for them. If they're trying to start violence or if they're engaging in violence, there should be consequences. And by the way, if your future employer finds out that you Molotov cocktailed a tent or something, and you don't want to hire that person, good. But that's not the future that he's really describing. He's talking about participation in protests. He's talking about mass surveillance, guilt by association. If you assaulted someone, whether you're a protester or a counter-protester, if you begun violence, sure, you should suffer legal consequences and financial consequences.
Right.
But just simply being there, Jesus, why? You should want to hire people that are passionate and have compassion.
What a weird Peter Sellers reboot of Being There.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it's very good. I would say, yeah. Now they're gonna look at your tweets. If you're out there retweeting and reposting people who are like saying some horrible crap, you have control over that. I wouldn't do that. I would go and just stick. This is what's happening. Just the general premise of something that goes on this long is there are very basic, reasonable things to say. I've said them. Continue to say those. There's all these people that are treading into like, I've seen it in TYT's chat where it's like, the Jews aren't really doing themselves a favor by, I know they don't control the world, but this doesn't look good. Don't do that.
I don't like that either.
The word intifada, like maybe when at the beginning of the first intifada, yes, that does mean uprising. But like second intifada, there's a lot of Hamas getting born at the time. I would say resistance, just stick to resistance. You're getting drawn into something very weird and very creepy when you're like using terms that have gotten a lot of suicide bombiness around them. So just be careful about that. But there's so much good to say. You don't need to like get bored of the good message and move on to things that are borderline like crazy.
100%. And I would also like to point out that segment, like she brought him on and asked him what are like the business consequences, the financial, the career consequences of this. That segment, the purpose of it was a warning to protesters that you won't just be, expelled possibly, you won't just be arrested possibly. Think about your career someday. Hey, maybe don't protest, maybe don't engage in free speech. It is a business threat to chill political activity is what it was. So I'm not even just mad at him. I'm mad at the entire segment for existing.
Also, a lot of 1960s hippies are like high-ranking politicians and CEOs right now.
When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?